What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here on the Veteran Influencers Podcast. Once again, it's your boy, Chris Levine, and today, as we always do, we have a special guest, which is going to be our second episode here on Season 3 of Veteran Influencers Podcast. My special guest today is Staff Sergeant Sam Juan, and she was in the Army and the National Guard. And when did you retire? Like you said, just recently, this year, right? January?
Yes, I got out of the National Guard January this year.
Okay. And so I think this might have been our second guest that we had for Army and National Guard. So let's make sure we give her a warm welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely exciting. And like I said, I always set out for every season to do something different and, get different type of guests and different type of people to interview. And I definitely took a look at your Instagram page and I love the aesthetic of it. And I just, us talking, we did like a little FaceTime prior to us actually coming on here a few days ago and just kind of getting the vibe. I had to say that, I'm sorry, from how we were talking. I knew you would be such a great guest.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to do a quick introduction to yourself and then just kind of give out your IG and then we'll go and get it started.
Yeah. Well, first of all, my name is Sam Juan. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a complete honor. My handles on IG and TikTok are the one Sam Juan, and that's THE, the number one, Sam_Juan. You can find me on YouTube as well if you want to go check that out. So yeah, happy to be here.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure we put it on the screen and then also put it in the description portion for our YouTube videos as well for whenever the interview comes out.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, like I said, this is Staff Sergeant Sam Juan. It recently retired this year after 13 years of service.
Yep.
And she's in the Army, but we're not gonna hold that against her. So.
First of all, you're welcome.
Hey, we love our Army people. I love everybody. That's why we're called veteran influencers and not Marine influencer.
I love it.
But as you can see, what I'm saying, I might have a little
pride. A little pride. I get it.
I might be a little biased. But let's start from the beginning because. Obviously, once you guys see her actual social media, you're going to kind of see where she's at. And like I said, she just recently retired this year. So I want to kind of like close the gap and kind of go over her story. So I want to know what it was like growing up in Bahrain as baby Sam,
Oh, my gosh. So not a lot of people are familiar with Bahrain. Maybe since you are Marine, like Navy base out there, you might have a little more knowledge about that. But growing up in Bahrain, like back then and back in 1984, it's a complete... I'm
just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I know, centuries ago. It was a completely different world. It was super safe, really, really close knit. Community vibes were it was just amazing. Didn't have to lock our door. Would play outside till like all hours of the night. No worries at all. My parents, they moved from the Philippines to work out there and like send money back home to the Philippines. And so I was adopted. The story goes that I was about a week old. My mom, when I say my mom, I mean my mom that raised me, not my biological mom, because I never met her. But my mom was running a daycare at this music school. And my biological mom came to drop me off and she was like, I am not picking her up. So yeah, she didn't come pick me up. And my parents, or my mom that was running the daycare, she was already like 50 years old. Her husband's 50, no plans on bringing home a newborn. And so they were kind of left in this situation. Like, what do I do? Do we take her in or do we give her up? Or I don't even know if adoption agencies were like a thing over there, and being half Persian, my dad, I guess, or my biological dad, not my actual dad, my biological dad had his own family. And so couldn't come home to his family and be like, hey, look at this new baby we got. And so they made a decision to take me in. And I had no idea I was adopted until, I don't know, until I was probably like 7 or 8 years old, because my features started to be different than theirs. You know, my hair is curly, as you can see, and they're full Filipino, poker straight, super short, you know, like to the nines, like stereotypical Filipino. And then I just kind of started having those questions like, am I from this family? You know, I felt a part of the family, but why do I look so different?
So did they come out and tell you, or did you have to actually go seek it?
I think because I could see how hard they were working to keep it a secret, you know, to the point where my mom would say stuff like, you know, when you were in my stomach and I was pregnant with you, I used to eat this and this. And I think they wanted to keep that story to let me know, like, I am a part of the family. There's no doubt. So for my own protection, you know, and there's no right or wrong way to do that, I think. So they didn't tell me until I sought out an answer, when I was deployed in Afghanistan in a tent via FaceTime. I ended up calling my mom. My dad had already passed by this point, and my mom was, like I said, they were 50 when they adopted me, so she was up in age already, right? She's like 77 by then, and so her health was kind of going too. And so,
so she was trying to take it to the grave.
Yeah, she would have taken it to the grave. She would have taken it to the grave. But with everything happening in Afghanistan, I was like, shit, if something happens to me, I just want to know. And so I was like, hey, Mom, I want to know, and I hope you tell me the truth. Like, am I adopted? And she finally was like, you know, it's your right to know. Yes, you are. And she was kind of blindsided because I didn't like prep her.
Right.
She's sitting me in this like dark tent room. I think I was in my camis then, but like she knows where I'm at.
Right.
Maybe not the full grasp of it because she doesn't keep up to date with that kind of stuff. English is her second language. Like I said, she's 77 and grew up in the Philippines and Bahrain. Not really into the whole military history type of deal. And so, yeah. I don't know if your mic's working anymore. Mm-hmm. I hear the rumbling, but when you're speaking into it.
Yeah, I think it should be good now. It was the table was like kind of pulling the wire down. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So, okay, so I thought you were saying before that, you know, when you were 7 or 8, you're saying that's when you got curious. That's not when you asked.
Yes. No, in my head, I'm like, I'm no shit like the same height as my parents at this point. You know,
okay.
Like, my
at 7?
Come on, Mom.
Yeah. No, that's a long time to wait too, and you know that, man. So, be honest? Are you glad you asked? Like,
I'm very glad I asked.
Okay.
I'm very glad I asked. I'm glad to know the truth because it just shows me the depth of what they were willing to do to make me feel like a part of the family, to protect me, to take me away from a situation where I wasn't wanted. Bahrain back then. I would definitely not be able to wear this. I would not have tattoos. My life would have been completely different. I would have been in the army. You know, being raised probably in a Muslim household, I would be covered up. Yeah, I'm not mad at all. I'm grateful.
Yeah, and so I know you kind of spoke about the different cultural differences, but you said that you were there till you were 14.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what was it like going to school out there, vice going to school like out here?
Sure. So there are a lot of like European expats that live out there. So like from Britain, Wales, Australia. So I went to school, well, not only with Bahrainis and Iranians and all that, but like I went to a British school, so it was honestly probably not to talk crap about the American school system, but a really good education, really really good.
You
Foreign
just
language.
lay it out. You ain't gotta worry about filtering. Say what you want to say. All right, you're out of here.
Yeah, you start learning foreign language from like second and third grade. So I was learning French from third grade through sixth grade, and then if you continue on from seventh and eighth, I'm learning German and French, and then yeah, and that would have been all the way through 12th. Classes like, I don't know how the whole AP thing. I don't understand it, but like back there, you are in a class with your peers, right? So let's say they break it up into like ABC. So like they'll test you out for math, English, and like depending how you score, you're in a classroom with people at that level, right? And so you don't feel below anyone. You feel like I'm keeping up, and they tailor the coursework to you, which I really appreciated because I wasn't feeling like the super smart people are knocking out of the park, and I'm like, oh, I don't even want to raise my hand because I don't know the answer yet.
Definitely been there.
And also like the arts and music. I remember learning drums and like recorder and tenor, doing packaging design in like sixth grade, like drafting tables, like, yeah, it was cool.
I don't even think I could do that now.
I know. And most people after, I think sixth grade, they decide whether, or eighth grade, I'm sorry, they decide whether if they're going to go to boarding school abroad or stay, or a handful of us went to the United States, but not many.
Wow. Okay. Damn. Oh, it seems like you guys are like kind of forced to learn, like kind of forced to intellectually grow like a lot earlier age than we did actually here.
Yeah, I don't have anything to compare it to, but it was, I guess, a lot of work, but because it was delivered in such an engaging way and you're with your peers, you're not feeling like overwhelmed or out of your league. You're willing to try because you're like, no one's going to make fun of you for not being as smart as them because you're with your crew, your group.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's extremely important as well. Just like you said, like, certain people are more willing to volunteer their answers and, even if they get it wrong, mm-hmm. but, other people are more shy hanging out in the back, or when you got to be forced to read, say, hey, read from here to here. You're just like,
and sports is huge. Like track and field. It's not like 1 hour PE. No, you're doing a sport, if not 2 or 3.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things I was going to ask you, because, I know you talked about like how growing up, how the actual school curriculum was pretty intense, but like, what was it like as far as on your off time, like hobbies, like what kept you like kind of going, and what drove you to be, to not necessarily be better, but what drove you, at a young age?
I would say art was a huge thing that I got into right away. It was what I like to do because, I don't know, it just like was a way for me to release and be creative and connect with the other people from different freaking countries, and we'd get together and draw and stuff. Tennis. I like to play tennis. And I think that might be like a Filipino thing because tennis is very much a sport that they're like, they not push on you, but push on you. Tennis, piano, badminton. I don't know if you know what cricket is. We used to play cricket.
Stop it.
Nah.
Yo, I was just not to bring up somebody else, but like, remember I told you I had an interview last night?
Mm-hmm.
I was explaining to her, like I grew up in Bermuda.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, it's soccer and cricket are like the 2 biggest sports over there, and like I never knew anyone that knew what cricket was. And then it's like, that flat looking, and it's supposed to bounce off the ground and then smack it.
Yes.
Such a
Don't
good
get
time.
hit by that ball. That shit hurts.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that thing has some heat to it.
Yeah. No, that's
Oh,
awesome.
so does that mean you can play ping pong as well, or what?
Yes.
Pretty nasty on the ping pong paddle.
I mean, like I said, I've been playing tennis since I was like 6 or 7.
What about ping pong though?
my dad taught me how to play ping pong maybe 6th grade. How old are you in 6th grade? 12?
How old was I? Was probably about 11, 10, 11. Yeah. I was really young.
So yeah, that's when I started playing ping pong. But yeah, I'll see if, I can make some time.
Listen,
play some ping pong.
I don't want to hurt feelings or nothing. I'm just saying my spin game is nasty and I haven't played it forever, but
I mean, you can get all those fancy tricks. That's cool.
Okay. All right, I'll make sure I keep that same energy if we ever play.
That or badminton. Did you guys play badminton out in Bermuda?
Badminton?
Mm-hmm.
Not there, but I grew we ended up getting a badminton those little skinny little rackets, and that thing would just fly over for days. It's so entertaining though.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, I loved it. I enjoyed it, but no, they didn't really play that in Bermuda.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, but that's funny though. It's one of the reasons why I love doing these interviews is because you get to see people that you don't necessarily know how much in common you actually have with them.
Yeah. I love that.
And things that you would have never known them to, I didn't know that anybody else knew what cricket was.
Do you know what netball is?
What is it?
Netball.
Maybe we called it something else. You might have to give me a concept of it.
So I didn't play basketball out in Bahrain because they didn't play basketball out there at that time.
Okay.
They played netball. So I was on a competitive netball team. Netball is, I don't know how to compare the size of the court compared to a basketball court, but 3 sections to the court. Depending on your position, you can go to certain thirds of the court. There's no dribbling, bounce passing or passing. Yep. No dribbling. So the ball is going really, really fast, to get from one area to the next.
How's it getting there? Are you running?
No, you're passing it. Pass, 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 pass.
Okay.
Yep. Only 2 people on the team can shoot. All right. So I didn't make the rules. So
Yeah.
And so there's a semicircle or a quarter circle at the end, half circle, whatever. And so the 2 shooters and the 2 defenders are in this section. The hoop itself doesn't have a backboard. There's no backboard. It's just the ring, no net. So, yeah.
Is it just not allowed to have a net, or you just grew up and there was no net? Because I was there too. Believe me, I grew up. We didn't really have nets on our stuff, so I did it.
I understood what that was when I came to the States, but like I said, I was on a competitive team, and there was no net on everybody's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was normal across the board. Nobody had a net.
Yeah, and maybe that was something added on. I don't know. I haven't checked netball these days, but maybe they have a net now. But
I'm gonna write that down because that's something I'm gonna look up. All your hobbies, I'm writing down, and I'm gonna do a little bit of research on it. That's crazy. I never even heard of netball. That's so interesting. And yeah, I definitely want to look that up.
So coming to the States, where's a netball team? I want to play.
Okay.
So the closest thing was basketball, and I couldn't dribble for.
Yeah.
Especially with my left. Right, that came a little bit easier, but left, man, that shit was challenging. I was always a shooter though, so that part wasn't hard.
Okay.
But trying out the first year did not make that.
So you're Steph Curry then. I'm gonna hold you to it. Listen, don't say it nice like that until I get.
You still say his name, right? Regardless.
Okay, that's funny. So one of the things that you said that kind of helped you get by, and it's kind of cool because now you can kind of at a younger age you start to hone in on your talents. I think you just naturally kind of go towards things that you're actually good at. And you're actually realizing as you as you practice. And you said that you practice art. And I'm looking in your background right now. I'm assuming that you painted that.
Yes, I did.
Get out of here.
I can give you a size reference.
Really here. Look at that. I did not know that you painted that.
Thanks. Yeah, I probably finished it late last year, I think. But it took me all of COVID.
That is so like, and I'm not even saying that because you're here. That is like extremely good.
Thank you.
Holy.
There's a lot of detail to it, yeah.
Is this like the only painting that you have?
No, I just actually dropped off one of my other large paintings. It's like 7 feet long, or 6 or 7 feet long, and to a not gallery, but to a restaurant locally to hang for the restaurant opening. And I have a few more that are laying around the house. I can send you photos of them if that'll be helpful. But yeah, I've been working on this for a while.
That is so good. Like drawing, cutting hair are always talents that are going to always be useful, you know, and that not everybody has. So that is incredible. I like that. The colors are so vibrant. Like, and the thing is, like, I can actually feel like I want to walk in that painting by the way they're like opening that path right there. And the dog is looking at me like, bro, you coming or what?
Enter at your own risk.
Yeah. And the dude up top is like, I know he's not about to walk through this path. Many have come, but not many have left.
Yes. Once you're in, you're in.
That is so incredible. Thanks. So I sent you my boy, Leroy. Were you able to, did you look at it?
Yes. Very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Oh, tell me that dude's not ridiculous.
His work is awesome. Very contemporary, very like the portraits that he does are very, like, captures like the emotion, you know, and like the color. Really cool stuff. Really, really cool.
Have you ever seen the show Good Times?
Oh my God, what? Yeah.
I'm about to test your age right now.
I told you when I was born.
Oh my God. Good Times. First of all, I'm going to put Good Times in my top 5 shows ever, and it's probably closer toward the 3 mark. I watched that show I probably have every episode memorized.
Yeah.
But one thing I told him, I was like, man, you know what reminds me? I was like, you know what your painting reminds me of? It reminds me of Good Times. Mm-hmm. If you look at, you remember all the paint that you know, all the painting that they would have and like the introduction and when JJ would always paint.
Yep.
And like the type of like that type of art has always stuck out to me because like it says so much without saying anything, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's why I feel like his painting kind of like reminds me of Good Times.
That's cool. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So do you like, so you talked about painting, you talked about like doing sports. Did you ever try to pursue sports outside of just like having fun? Like, I know you talked about kind of competing, like what's the furthest you've ever gotten with sports? Like, did you guys win anything?
So for tennis, once I came to the States, I continued playing singles. I went to a private school for the first 2 years, and then transferred over to the public school. Like, my parents started running out of money, couldn't afford to send me to private school anymore, and that stuff. But tennis, regardless of all of that shenanigans, I definitely could have gone to college playing tennis. I ranked probably 2nd or 3rd in my region. I think I didn't pursue that because of what was happening at home, and I didn't want to stay in California. And so I hopped on the first train out of there, and that was joining the Army.
Wait. So what part of California did you? So you went from Bahrain to California? Yes.
When I left Bahrain at 14 to start high school, it was to move to California to live with my sister and her family.
What part of California?
Are you familiar with Gardena?
Like LA?
LA, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Carson, Gardena.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you were kind of in the hood then, huh?
That's what I said. I know it's like to not have nets on the hoops. I had bars on my windows. Like, I didn't know any better. Like, I'm moving from a foreign country. Like, I thought this is normal. You know, yeah. So
what was the difference? Okay. So going from Bahrain to Gardena, what was your instant react? Because that was your first time going to California, right? Your first time being in the United States?
No, it wasn't my first time. So because my sister's so much older than me, she had her first baby when I was like 4.
Okay.
So my parents, love the decision or not, like once she popped that baby out, they were like, you are a grown up and you are going to do your own thing and we're going to be in Bahrain. So she got married to the guy that she was dating and yeah, did that whole thing.
Are they still together now?
No, he's thankfully not in the picture because he's the reason why I tried to leave California as soon as I could.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but you know, I guess things do happen sometimes, hopefully for the better.
It was a learning. Like I said, I turned to art for a lot of reasons. So even though we were living in Bahrain when I was a kid, like we'd come back to the States to see my sister every year, right? Like,
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're a grown up, but we're still here for you kind of thing. I think that's what my parents were thinking. But we would come every year, stay for like a summer, and then go back. Come every year.
So how old was she when she had her kid? Like when your parents said, nah, you stay over there?
16. She was wow. She was graduating pregnant, like with the gown.
Wait, she graduated at 16?
16 or 17. Like she was young. She's pretty smart. Yeah.
What was it? No, it's just right. No, I'm just kidding. That's so young though.
Like she had her first kid at 16. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely seen like you know, certain cultures will do that. And it's not even necessarily having a kid. Like it could be something like, I'm not gonna say petty, but it could be something like smaller than that, where like I've seen people's parents disown them. I'm just like,
yeah, she was trying to rebel. I mean, my parents, from what I heard, were really, really strict. You can't do
right.
shit. No going out, no friends, you know, school, no boys, you know, that whole deal. And so when I came around, they tried a completely different approach. They were not paying attention to anything. I could do whatever the heck I wanted. Anything and everything. You still alive? Okay, cool.
Hey, you're good, right? That's how I feel like it was with my little brother. I'm like, man, I got the work. You know what I'm saying? Me and my sister, like we got that work. I had attention. I feel like I had a camera on me 24/7. Like every time I did something wrong, my dad would peek in. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But then my little brother was just like spoiled, you know?
I don't think I'm spoiled or was spoiled because I didn't have material things all the time. But
right.
The freedom. I was spoiled with the freedom and like no supervision. If you want to call it spoiled, because now it's like, looking back at it, if I had some more attention,
right.
I probably wouldn't have tried to get into so many shenanigans to try and get their attention. I probably would have done better in school. Not that I did bad, but I didn't try because nobody cared at home that I tried or not, you know? Yeah, that kind of thing.
No, I definitely do think that makes a big difference. Yeah, and I definitely don't think, you know, obviously I can't judge your exact situation. I was just saying my brother was spoiled because he didn't get the pressure attention. Like someone's hawking over you, like, oh, you want to do this wrong?
Yeah.
He got like the attention, like, oh,
are you the oldest?
No, I'm like in the middle.
Okay.
He's technically my stepbrother, but you know, I'm the youngest of my actual siblings.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so you know, I didn't exactly get the youngest get hooked up, since you know.
Yeah.
It was like a reverse effect. It's all good.
Because my parents were so much older, like they could be my grandparents, so they probably looked at me more like that, you know.
No, that makes sense too. And I'm not saying you can't have kids after a certain age, but I think when you have kids at a certain age, you're just tired. You're not gonna have that same energy.
Running after you, I can't.
Hey, you're gonna learn.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So going from, you know, you said growing up in Bahrain, and there wasn't necessarily anything that you saw that would make you want to join the military, but you did end up moving at 14. You lived in LA with your sister. At what point did you start thinking, you know what, I might want to join the military?
I mentioned earlier, like my parents started running out of money.
Right.
And regardless of, I guess, what I would have decided to do after high school, like I knew I wanted to go to school.
Okay.
I wanted to go to school. I applied to a few colleges out there, but there was no way my parents were going to be able to afford it. So when I got, and I know this is going to super date me, but when I got the cold call to my landline at my house.
No, I'm kidding. Listen, I had a landline too.
It wasn't a very long conversation, but the recruiter was just like, "Hey, my name is Sergeant Kim, and I'm an Army recruiter. I'd love to talk to you about a few options to get you money for college and an opportunity to travel." And I was like, "Cool. Where's your office at?" Pretty much. I didn't know anything about the military. I had only been in the United States for almost 4 years at this point.
Okay.
But money for school, I will give you some time to listen. And yeah, it wasn't, I think because I didn't think too hard about it, it was easier for me to like sign the papers.
Right.
If I had thought through like, if I actually go to war, that means I could really get in some shit. And if I thought the next 5 steps through, I probably would have second guessed myself.
So like, did they, cause I know how it is, obviously I got recruited, but did they have the little tags out there that kind of like showed you like, would you like to travel? How about education? Did they pull those tags out?
Shoot, I'm not even sure. I have photos from the recruiting station from back then too, with all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's dope with my recruiter, the station commander, and like all the other recruiters that were there. I had given them a gift prior to leaving. It was a scratch board piece of art that I made. It was a soldier with like the netting on the helmet and stuff. Like they really helped me out. Sergeant Kim, like,
nice.
Yeah, he understood why the underlying reason why I was going. It wasn't for college.
Nice. So is he still in?
You know what? He found me on Instagram, which is kind of embarrassing.
Wait, why?
I don't know, because it's not. I have a certain like, he was like a tough and rough fucking dude, like, and then now he sees me in my like, not in my uniform. And it was a random like DM, like, "Hey, did you go to this high school?" And I can't remember exactly what he said, but I think I was your recruiter. And I looked at his page. I was like, "Holy fuck, Sergeant Kim!" And he was just like, "I knew you would do great things," kind of thing. So that was cool.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Over time, like so I went drill instructor, but over time, and we have like competitive, like, oh, who's better at this?
Yeah.
I just learned to have so much more respect for recruiters because
so hard.
They put in work.
Yeah.
Listen, like somebody had to do it, and it wasn't about to be me. Yeah. I got hit on the list, but since I had already put in 2 drill instructor packages,
okay,
they lost my first 2 somehow. But I had to put in another one. I put that 3rd one, and all of a sudden I got orders.
You're like, whew.
Oh, absolutely. Now that I look back on it, I was like, I don't know what would have happened if I would have went recruiting, because it's for them and not for me.
It's sales. It's sales. 100%.
Yeah, you definitely got to be talking all the time, and I ain't gonna go too much into depth, but yeah, it's
not selling. I work at an ad agency now, and we were trying to win the Marine Corps advertising account. So we were doing some research on what do these Marine recruiters look for in new recruits. Like, is there a process, like certain character traits, whatever? And the majority of them spoke to, like, you're not selling the Marine Corps. You're selling yourself, because you are their possibly first interaction with somebody in the Marines.
Right.
Like, they don't have a point of reference unless their dad was a Marine, or like someone in their family is a Marine. Like, you are selling you, what you've accomplished, what you think about it, and they're buying into you. And so it's like, you have to really either believe in it or like sell the shit out of it, regardless of what you think.
Right.
Yeah.
So would you have joined regardless of who Sergeant Kim was?
Yeah.
So that's like, to me, that's like the ultimate person you want. Someone that just walked in and said, sign me up. I don't want to hear it.
And I think, like I said, I didn't think through the whole 10 steps. I didn't care. I needed to leave California.
Right. And I'm sure you know already, but most people would be surprised how many people are in that same boat. You know, like how many people were actually, they feel like their lives were saved by being able to join the military. You know, everything it has to offer. And, you know, obviously we have to sacrifice some things as well, but you know, the end result, you know, whether you retire or whether you know, now you got like the post 9/11 GI Bill, educational benefits while you're in as well. And also, you know, the pay and, you know, and, you know, just other things, VA benefits, things that we're able to get from serving our country. You know, a lot of people benefit, and a lot of people send the majority of their paycheck. I had Marines that literally, I'm like, hey man, like, why don't you have any money? Like, what's up? Like, man, I send the majority of my paychecks back home for my family because they don't have anything. And it's like, kind of humbles you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the paychecks back then, back in 2003, I think I made like 16 grand a year or something ridiculously high.
Right.
You know, but I mean, everything else was taken care of, like food, barracks. I didn't care.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So like, what MOS did you end up going, and why did you pick it?
So even though I scored fairly well in the ASVAB, when I joined the Army, I was still an immigrant. So the options that I had were truck driver, nurse, and as a Filipino, like, I'm trying to avoid that altogether. I'm not gonna be any kind of stereotype.
Yo, okay. Listen, I'm not even gonna say. I know what you mean. I'm gonna just say that. I'll believe it at that. I know what you mean.
And then a cook, and so I picked cook.
You any good?
Now I am. Not then.
Okay.
I learned so much about different, let's just say, different ways of cooking, because being a cook in Germany, we worked with German cooks, and then I don't know if it's the same with the Marine Corps, and I don't know if you know, like Army Marines, they go to AIT to learn how to be a cook together at Fort Lee. So I'm not sure.
I have I got one of my partners from my other podcast that I do. Shout out to Ask a Vet and T Moody. But she's a master sergeant now. She's a cook as well, and she is a beast. Like, she just won some award for like best. Anyways, but yeah, cool. I might have to hit her up and see how that process works.
Yeah, so that was my first exposure to Marines in class. They are definitely a certain breed.
Okay, hey, I was listening to see what you know.
When you come to class with a Camelback filled with vodka. Okay, you guys do things way different.
I don't know what you're talking about. All right, I'm pleading the fifth on that. You know.
Yeah, it was literally a fifth. So.
That's hilarious. That is so fun. Listen,
they are fun.
We're definitely an interesting breed, you know, and this is why I love the fact of being able to. Cause I think my first season, I don't think I may have talked to like a couple other people that were outside, but it was mostly Marines.
Yeah.
My second and now this season, I feel like I'm getting more of other branches, and I love to hear, like, to see what the similarities and differences are between what we do as a branch and just like our way of thinking as well. So no, that's dope. I like
fun. And after a few weeks, like, they let you go off post for the weekend, you know?
Okay.
And so we would party with the Marines. Like, they're fun. And I have photos from there too. So like, just like going down memory lane, like, it's really cool.
That's awesome. I think that's one thing I probably regret the most, is not taking more pictures. And now it's like, I mean, people have thousands of pictures of just themselves, you know what I'm saying?
But thinking back then, like, literally the disposable camera, like, you have to intentionally. don't
tell anybody about how we grew up, you know?
Hey, I'm not ashamed. That,
I know, I'm just playing.
You know? So graduated AIT, went to Germany. That was my first duty station as a cook. And I loved it. It was really cool experience. Being a cook is not like being your typical soldier because you are removed from your unit.
Okay.
You operate with, how do I explain this? So let's say there's a group of 10 cooks at this DFAC or whatever. Each of them is assigned to a different unit, right? So they still come together now. Now we're our own like entity. So we're doing PT with only with our group. We're
Okay.
making our own schedules because we work night and day shift. We're like early and afternoon shift, sometimes weekends. It's not like your regular unit. You show up to PT at a certain hour, you work 9 to 5, 5:30, and then you do it again the next day. Now if you work morning, you're there by like 5, you work till like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, then you're doing PT after that. If you work the later shift, you're doing PT at 6, you're on shift at 10, and you work till 6 or 7. Like it's shift work. It's different. Yeah. The cooks
Y'all
and
can have that. You can have all
cooks
that.
and MPs, the worst schedule. Oh, and medical. Because like you have to always be on, you know?
Yeah, like I was talking to T and she was telling me like some of her schedule. I was like,
Oh, it's horrible. 10 days on, 2 days off. 10 days on, 2 days off. I'll never forget that. 10 on, 2 off. 10 on, 2 off.
this is why honestly, after talking to like all MOSs, I became a little bit more conscious about like how I thought about them. Because I mean, let's be honest, like people talk crap about cooks. Oh, you're just a cook or this. But it's like, come put in this work with me for a little bit. Because so the way it used to be is people used to get fapped out to the chow hall. And I was around during a part where it was like starting to kind of come to an end to where it was like fully just the MOS. But people used to get fapped out to be in the chow hall to serve the food. They used to hate life.
Okay. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not used to that environment, you're like, oh my God, hot pan what? Where do you want me to do this? What?
You want scrambled? Everybody's getting scrambled. That's it. Yeah, we're gonna keep it the same across the board. It's all going down the same. You're not getting an omelet.
Nope, everyone gets scrambled. No omelets. I don't know what those are.
Like, sir, can I get a sunny side up?
No.
Scrambled, right?
I heard scrambled.
Right, got you.
It's loud back here. I'm sorry. You thought, yeah. Well, fuck.
That is so funny. And, because of that, I started, I definitely gained a lot more respect. It's the same thing with the branches. And, no offense to how we get taught, but we get taught we're the best branch. I'm sure you guys do too.
Sure. Yeah.
And what kind of comes with that is you start to look at the other branches like, oh, the nasty Army or, oh, the nasty Air Force or whatever. But over time, you like talking to people like you and interacting with the other branches throughout like actually deployments and doing training, and as you mature, it's just like, that was stupid. Like, why am I thinking that? You know what I'm saying? These guys are people just like us. They have a role and a job just like I do, and it's more of perspective. So I learned to adjust my perspective and I learned to appreciate everybody for what they do.
Yeah, that takes time and growth and maturity. But same, like I was a young hothead. You couldn't tell me the Army wasn't the best. Get out of here.
I'm talking about.
But like I said, going to school with the Marines, that opened my eyes up a little bit. And then being stationed in Germany, like not only did we work with German cooks, but we served German soldiers. So
Okay.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. I loved it. It was cool.
I like that because I know when that's something else. Anyways, so we kind of talked about like your experience of like going to school with like the Marines, but like when you first checked into the fleet, like what was your thought? Did you feel out of place? Did you feel like you were right there at home? Were you comfortable or were you kind of like still nervous? Like I don't know what to expect from the Army.
Sure. So when you say fleet, you mean like my first duty station?
Yeah.
Okay. So graduating basic and then AIT, I was hungry. I graduated basic as like, I don't know if you guys do this in Marines, but like soldier leader of the cycle, right? Like I led the platoon. Like yeah. And not necessarily the top of class for AIT, but fairly close. And then when I got to my unit, I was like confident and still like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I hope I'm doing the right thing. And they fuck. I don't know if that's a Marine Corps thing too, but like they're gonna fuck with you. They're gonna send you to the ration room and tell you to ask for like something that doesn't exist, and you're gonna feel like, oh my god, they won't give me the green cheese with blah 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 blah. I don't know what to do, but I don't want to go back to my sergeant and tell him I couldn't find it. Like, yeah, they played me a lot because I didn't know, but I was eager, and I think that's what they appreciated. Like, no matter what they asked me to do, I didn't question it.
Right.
Because they're my NCOs or whatever, and they say jump, I say how high, and that's it.
What was the ration room?
The ration room is where they keep all the supplies. Like, you have to go to like the ration. He's still a cook, but he's like in charge of where they stock all the food.
Okay.
So like they lock up all the meats, and they lock, so they can ration out how much food that defect gets for the day. So when you're like, can I get an extra scoop of whatever?
Oh, okay.
It's really been calculated how much food they get for the month. And it's not a joke when they say we can't. Like, it's like, no, we're running low on rations.
I did not know that. I mean, it makes sense because the Marine. I know the Marine Corps is like, nah, we're gonna see where we can save this money at. Like, we're gonna do all the math to see what's the typical amount of food that we normally sell of each thing. So I figured there was someone that was kind of like budgeting that as well.
It's budgeted. They buy it for the either week or bi-weekly, sometimes by the month, depending on the season. But yeah, it is calculated.
Okay, and I'm sure there's like certain food that probably like disappears the most.
It is acquired the proper way, and it is distributed the proper way. It's counted on the books the proper way. I didn't do rations.
Listen, you have no, you don't want to get nobody else in trouble. I got you.
Exactly.
I got you. No, no, I was just kidding. There's certain foods that are going to get eaten, and when you guys have stuff like meatloaf, nobody wants to eat it.
We had days dedicated to certain themes, like German Day, Italian, surf and turfs were typically Fridays, and then soul food Thursdays. Soul food Thursdays, barbecue chicken, ribs, ham hocks, collard greens.
Merc, all of it.
And what's so great? Like, a lot of the cooks, they were from like southern states.
Okay.
And so, yes, we all followed a recipe card, but they would share their like how they grew up eating it. Like the real way to cook collard greens, the real way to make some barbecue chicken and ribs, and they would throw down. So when I say like I didn't know how to cook when I went to school, but man, I learned some things, and they were amazing cooks.
So what you're saying is people used to sneak their own seasoning in there, like.
Oh, I mean, the seasoning's all there. You just gotta mix it and make your own. Like you're gonna use the Army supply. Yeah.
No, that's what's up. Like that surf and turf is no joke.
Yes.
Boy, I used to look forward to that surf and turf.
Crab legs, steak, biscuit. Oh yeah.
So hungry now.
Yep.
Nah, no. I miss those days. Like that's why I always look forward to the Marine Corps birthday, because we're gonna have some lobster tails and like some steak.
Lobster tails, yep.
Watch how fast that disappears.
Yeah, you better be like the first 20, 30 in line. You get the good stuff,
Big facts.
Yep.
So we kind of went over like your early experience being in. We talked a little bit about your first like school. Your experience there, and then we also talked about you joining the fleet. So as you start to get a little bit more comfortable, and let's say through your first enlistment, you guys have 4-year contracts?
Back then they were so in need of people to join the military. I think 3 years was the minimum.
Oh, well, okay, but what was the normal contract? So what kind of like led you to re-enlisting? Like, I mean, you got a chance to see what it was like to be a junior Marine, And if it's anything like how it is in the Marine Corps as being a sergeant, now it's like, okay, I'm in charge. I'm the head honcho. I'm running stuff. Like, what was that feeling like transitioning from junior Marine to, now I'm the one in charge?
So I was motivated to be the one in charge because I didn't want to listen to the people telling me what to do. And so I projected myself as fast as I could. And I don't know if you guys do this, but we have this like soldier of the month, these competitions. I made sure that my PT was always, I never scored on less than 300. But yeah, never. And because I ended up winning U.S. Army Europe Soldier of the Year, Cook of the Year.
Okay.
I got pinned sergeant within 2.5, maybe, I don't want to say 2 years, but fast, the fastest you can do it.
Right.
And I ended up meeting someone out there and I got married and that whole thing that people do when they think they're grown up.
Yeah.
And I actually had ETS after my first enlistment.
ETS is the same thing as PCS for us?
ETS when you get out.
Oh, okay. So that's like our EAS. Okay.
Yep. So I'd gotten out and he had moved or been relocated to Hawaii. So he was stationed in Hawaii. And
okay.
Left Germany, went to Hawaii. A lot of drama that I caused.
Like relationship drama, or why are you causing drama for? No, I'm kidding.
I was not grown. Okay, I was definitely not grown. I was not mature.
I wasn't grown.
At
least you can admit it. Most people will never admit it's them. Like if you ask them, "Hey, why didn't your last relationship work out?" It's either, "Yeah, they did this and this," but nobody ever wants to own up to what they did.
No, I was me. I was not ready to be in a committed relationship, and he was nothing but a gentleman. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up moving back to California with my family.
Okay.
And figuring out, okay, I'm about to working through this, I think. I don't know, but we're separated right now. And within 6 months, I was just like, I cannot support myself. I don't want to rely on my parents. I've been gone already for the last 4 years at this point. Like, no, I'm gonna go back in for me and do it again. So I went back in. Mm-hmm.
So before we get on to like where you went next, like, so what's a 300 for you guys? Because you guys run what, 2 miles? You guys do push-ups and then
Yep. 2 minute push-up, 2 minute sit-up, 2 mile run.
Okay, so how do I max that out? What's the max?
So your maxes, I'm sure it's the same for you guys. It fluctuates on age group, right?
Right.
And so I'll just give you the last. At that time, I think I was probably 23, 24.
Okay.
To max, I think it's, don't quote me, I'm guesstimating here, 42 push-ups, 82 sit-ups, and then 15, 30 or faster run.
So what does that come down to? Like 7 minutes and 45-second mile?
My math is terrible. I'd have to pull out a calculator. Yeah.
I think it's 7. Look at that. Hey, I'm good. Okay. That's not bad at all. That's not bad. Because we got to do that tree mile. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, no, I died.
I look in the history and I go, let's see. The Navy does 1.5 miles.
Yep.
The Army does 2 miles, and the Marine Corps came along and said,
yeah, we're just gonna
we're doing 3.
Yeah.
No questions about it. 3.
Yeah, and for us, the hardest age group to max is the 27 to 31.
Okay.
You have to do more, run faster or whatever. I think by then I was 69 push-ups, 105 sit-ups. 1440 was the fastest I've ever ran it. Fastest ever.
That's not bad. A 720 mile. Mm-hmm. That's still flying though.
I would say not terrible.
Yeah. Now, it's different for females, right? Or no? Like, do you guys?
Back then, yes. Now with the ACFT or whatever the heck, they're whatever.
That thing is no joke.
It's horrible.
Have you? Oh, no, 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 no. Before they even put it, like implement it, they started talking like, "Oh yeah, we got this new." I'm just like, right, it's just gonna be easy. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna do knees to elbows on the bar." I was like, "All right,"
That's the one that gets most people.
because that is so much harder than people think it is.
Yep.
Especially like the Marine Corps would say some stuff like, "Do not swing."
Yep.
And they're like, they want you to keep your arms bent
Yep.
and just bring your knees up the whole
Arms
time.
bent?
I think it's arms bent, right?
I mean, that's harder, but like if you just hang and if you brought your knees up, I mean, because then you're using your lats. I don't know. Anyway,
I think it's easier with the because you're in like a semi pull, so you can like your lats are already engaged while you do it, so you just kind of bring your knees up. But with the arm straight, most people don't have straight arm strength. You almost have to use like your straight arm to be able to do that and bring your knees up, which is like pretty tough.
Okay.
But I mean, either way, it's a beast.
Oh, it's hard.
We were gonna actually do that for when I was working at the ROTC at ASU because like we have the Army there as well, but they just took forever to get the equipment. You gotta get like a sled. You gotta slide. I was just like, yeah, y'all lost me with all that.
Yeah, I was in the Guard when they started trying to mandate. I'm looking at this like, you can't get people in the Guard to pass the regular PT test. You're gonna do this. You're gonna lose so much of your force. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're exactly what you're saying is right. Exactly what you're saying, because I'm like, man, I know that there's Marines that would get smoke checked.
Yeah, it was hard, or it's hard. Shit.
Yeah. So you took a little bit of a break. So at about 4.5 years outside the Army, you're like, nah, fam, I need to get back in here. And I know you talked about it took 6 years for you to actually get in. So I'm assuming that was just the process that it took for you to actually like get all the paperwork and get you going back in.
No, are you talking about after I left active duty and going?
Right. So when you left active duty and then going back into the National Guard.
Yeah, no, it didn't take a long time to get back into the Guard at all. It was more me questioning myself if I really wanted it and why do I want it and why now.
Okay.
I think it had a lot to do with what led me to move here to Dallas to work at this advertising firm, and it being my first real like civilian job since leaving active duty, getting my degree, leaving my husband, and starting over.
Right.
And so I made that decision to join the Guard after being out for 6 years because I wanted to give back to junior soldiers. I thought I wanted to be an officer. I wanted to have that sense of camaraderie again that I wasn't getting at the advertising agency. It's a completely different animal.
Right.
I just thought that I had more to give back. And I thought that was the way I was supposed to do it. But I signed up, went back to MEP, put my hand up again on my birthday, 2018. But I quickly learned that phase of my life should have stayed closed. Mm-hmm.
It's probably hard transitioning back in because you're like, honestly, I feel like when I retire, there's gonna be a lot of weight off my shoulder as far as like let's be honest, like there's a lot of stress when it comes to being in the military that, you wouldn't even like think is this stressful. Not having to be, in formation at a certain time, not having to, medical dental hit list or this, or, all these things that, you're responsible for in the military, just finally being able to take a deep breath and be like, I no longer have to worry about that. I'm not going to get calls in the middle of the night because somebody did something,
Yeah. Yeah. I was searching for something and I thought it was going to be there to provide that like career, personal satisfaction, fulfillment. But it was a lesson that I didn't know I was supposed to learn the hard way.
Right. Mm-hmm. So what was the National Guard like?
So signing up to go through OCS right away made it a very different experience, I think, than your regular guardsman joining.
Okay.
Not only did I have 10 years active duty prior, showing up to OCS, and the Guard does it weird. It's like the traditional method is like 1 week in a month for 18 months. Okay, and there's like, yes, it's a commit.
Wait, for OCS?
So the traditional,
What?
yeah, hear me out. Yes, the guard is like, okay, these are, part-time soldiers, whatever. We're not going to disrupt their schedule. Like if they want to go through the traditional way, 1 week in a month, 18 months, 2 weeks in the summer, I think, each year or whatever. So it's like, if you want to be an officer in the guard, it's a very long and drawn out process. You really need to want it. You need to put shit aside for the next 18, maybe even 2 years.
Right.
This is it, you can do the accelerated program, and that's the 2-month version.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But it is, man, it was a wake-up call. Like I was much older, not saying that I wasn't in shape, but god damn, like it's been 6 years since I've woken myself up on purpose at 5 a.m. to do PT in the morning. Like, how bad do I really want it?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what was the hardest part of like actually, doing officer in the National Guard?
I think for me, it was more mentally challenging because I'm not an 18-year-old buck willing to listen to anything you tell me. Jump how high? No, now I'm a fucking grown up. I probably have more time in the military than you. And
right.
You're going to now yell and scream in my face because my cover, oh my gosh. The first weekend I got assigned as the first sergeant. So I'm marching all these people around. I hadn't called cadence in 6 years. I'm like, please God, come back to my memory right now. And my cover was not parallel to the marching surface. And so one of the drill sergeants was like, you're fired. Get your ass to the back of the line. I was like, what did I do wrong? And that was it. That was it.
Right.
I'm like, we are not in basic training. Like, okay, cool. This is the game we're playing. Got it. Like,
oh, you want me to be GP?
Yeah.
I'll be general population. I'm not having no responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like, oh, okay, I remember this now. Like, but to go back after the weekend's over to my cushy advertising job, and then next month you want me to pack all my fucking gear, get in the car, drive to Austin, and be ready to be yelled at for another 48 hours. You have to really want to do this for 18 months. Yeah.
And you made it all the way to the 18-month mark.
So 3 drills prior to the 2-week kind of like summer requirement, like in the reserves or guard, you have to do 2 weeks in the summer, whatever.
Right.
So the 2 weeks is like the completion of phase 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then, like I think I mentioned during our first call, missing the last test of which was land nav by 1 point, 12 hours prior to graduation. I have never failed anything in my life. Okay, I'm super competitive. I definitely have never failed anything in the fucking Army. No,
right.
This is supposed to come like second nature to me. This is what people expect of me. They've already seen me as captain. Like they're already like, you're doing this.
Right.
To have to go back, not only to my unit, but just to look back in the mirror and be like, what the fuck now? Like, oh yeah, it made me spiral down the what do I have to bring to the table? Oh my God, I shouldn't have done this. Who am I? Road. Which, like I said, I didn't know it was a lesson I was supposed to learn until later. But all of that self-reflection, all of that trying to figure out who I am outside of the Army, who am I if I don't do this? How am I going to get that fulfillment? Came after a few months of distracting myself with unhealthy habits. And then finally waking up and realizing this is not how you cope with things. You're better than this. You deserve better than this. And going to my first spiritual ceremony that kind of woke me up and got me back into art again. And that's the type of habit I should have been using to deal with all that shit.
Oh, I'm glad and I do appreciate the fact that you brought that up because, a lot of people, they want to talk about their great things, that's what Instagram is, right? You show all your greatest moments. But behind all those, happy pictures and all that stuff, there's a lot of people that are hurting that have been through a lot of failure before they got to that success. Did you have somebody like a best friend or somebody that was like there to always listen to you to help you get to that point? Or was it just like, it was just you against the world type thing?
I remember calling someone because they gave our phones back to the people that didn't pass. Like now you're not an OCS anymore. You're not part of the cycle. You're back to your normal shit. I remember calling someone and like telling them like, hey, I failed. And they were just like, oh my God, like not you,
Right.
I remember breaking down. But I think it was, I know that he understood the severity or gravity of what this will do to me in the future, in the near future, because of the expectation or standard I hold myself up to, So throughout trying to figure out what to do next, I was too busy. I'm gonna be honest. I was too busy getting fucked up, and the friends, my closest friends, mostly all of them live in California. Like I didn't have a healthy group here where I live now. So the people that I would hang out with were getting fucked up right along with me, and didn't know why I was, didn't care. Let's go to the bar, do whatever. Like I'm just here to have a good time, type of deal. And it took a few months for me to like wake up out of that.
What was like the final? Was it more so of like, did you just realize that you could do better, or was it just like that phase is over, time to move on? Or
no, there was an event that happened, like going to meet up to go pick up some supplies and realizing I'm doing this by myself. It's not a social thing anymore. I'm going to get fucked up on my own, and I didn't care. And coming back to my apartment, even like driving there to get it, like I'm like, what are you doing? Do fucking U-turn, like you don't need. It's 2 a.m. And by this time it's like mid-March, late March, like it's COVID. Nobody's on the road. Like you could get pulled over, and I didn't give a fuck. So I came back to my apartment, proceeded to get fucked up, and once I came to, like, I was like, what the fuck was that? I'm here by myself doing this for what? This is not a social thing anymore. This is not for fun. You need some fucking help. And so I realized I need to go to therapy. I'd never been to therapy before. And like I said, I ran away from California because I needed to. And it was because my brother-in-law had been sexually abusing me from like the age of 4 all through, like every time we'd go visit. And then, like I said, I lived with my sister and him while my parents were in Bahrain. And that happened all the time. And so when my parents finally moved back to California and I got to move out of the house, or my sister's house, it didn't happen after that, but like the memories are still there, like it's not, on the surface, everything's fine. I'm still like crushing my school, sports, art, whatever, got my shit together. So I'm joining the Army to get money for school and travel and all that. But Sergeant Kim knew why allegedly leaving.
Um, I'm extremely sorry to hear about that. I hate the fact that that happens. I appreciate you telling your story too, because it takes like someone definitely brave to do that. I know you know this already, but
Thanks. And so after that day in March last year, like I made a couple of videos telling my story because I had never told anyone about that. And I didn't really even talk. All I did was like have this sad song playing, and I wrote in the captions, my truth. Because I knew that was why I couldn't cope with everything. It wasn't just the feeling of land now. Who gives a shit? It was
all right.
the compilation of shit, and it just spilled over finally. Yeah. And so seeking a therapist or therapy to deal with that was I thought the first step that I need to do to finally heal and get to, not there yet, but get the ball rolling.
Wow. Yeah, because I know a lot of people that look at like therapy and therapists as like weak, you know, but I mean, realistically, it's like seeking, well, it's not the same exact, but there's also an analogy, you know, when people seek a personal trainer, it doesn't mean you're weak and you can't figure it out on your own. It means you're strong enough to ask for help, you know?
And that was a huge struggle being in the military. I think the stigma is still there, even though they claim it's not, you know. Mental health is so important. It's so important. But let me tell my platoon sergeant, I need to go see the doc. Well, what's wrong with you? We're going on the same deployments. Why do you need to see a therapist? You know, and working in an intel unit, like your mental health is part of your security clearance. You're
right.
Fucked up, like they say it won't affect your capability, or you know, you're still fit to fight or whatever, but I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I had seen a therapist much sooner, because it is night and day how I can process stuff now.
Like I can just tell, I know this sounds cheesy, but I can just tell by the way you sit up and like your posture that you're a strong person. Everything you're talking about, like the fact that, because there's a lot of people that didn't make it out of situations like that, you know, and I'm glad you're striving, and I'm glad you're, you know what I'm saying, I'm glad you're alive to tell your story, and I'm glad you're pushing forward. You made a conscious, you know, effort and decision to go get therapy, and you know what I'm saying, to continue your life going forward as opposed to continue to go down that line, because I think everybody's been to, well, this is not to belittle your story. I hope you understand what I mean, but I think a lot of people have been down that point to where, you know, devices have gotten the best of them, and some people don't stop, and it just, you know, they move on to the next thing and the next thing, and they never come back from it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and thank you so much. And I'm not saying that it's not a thing I still not cured by any means.
Right.
But I surround myself with a much better group, a healthier group of people that love me and support me and know what I'm trying to do now is coming from a genuine place. And that's like, I think we mentioned the arts initiative that I'm trying to start to help other veterans, other service members kind of maybe realize art could be a way for them to deal with their PTSD or trauma. You know, talk therapy isn't for everyone, and I totally get that. I'm not an art therapist per se, but
right.
The initiative that we're trying to stand up is to provide a safe space for our vets to get together with fellow community members and just create. You know, you don't have to talk about what you're drawing or painting if you don't want to, but if you do, just know you won't be judged. It's a safe place to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I love that, and I want to harp on that a little bit more in a second. So like, you know, I don't know how this is going to come out, but like, what kind of advice would you give to somebody, and maybe not necessarily that have been in like a situation similar to yours, but to where, they dealt with some type of trauma in life, to where, they don't know where to turn to. Like, what kind of advice would you give them, as far as like, maybe something specific about your experience, to where it's like, hey, this is what's going to help you get through, or hey, these are the decisions that you're going to have to make, and you're going to have to be the one to make the decision.
Yeah. So when I released those videos, initially on TikTok and then Instagram, I believe, or Facebook, I can't remember. Either way, I think it was Facebook, because I don't really use that too often for like the stuff I put on Instagram and stuff. That's more like keeping in touch with family members and people I've met in the military. But when I put it out on there, a lot of people reached back out, and a million and one suggestions, a million and one, hugs of support. And it's too hard to read them all. I appreciated all of them, but you will find a way to take a risk and either reply or, give that person a chance. Like, I'm sure they want to help from a genuine place. And you're just trying to navigate which way will work for you. So there's no black or white solution. It took me a couple tries to figure out the therapist that I liked, the techniques that I liked that worked for me. But it was challenging at first, because you're like, I'm already being vulnerable and I really hate that. And so,
Right.
And now I'm allowing somebody in to help me that I might not know very well. And I'm telling them my deepest, darkest things that have affected my life, with the hopes that it'll work or it'll help. But there's no guarantee.
Right.
I think you have to kind of approach that. This healing journey is just that. It's a journey. So that would be try to keep low to little expectations, but keep pushing forward.
Absolutely. And that's definitely some great advice. Like, it's not as easy as it seems, probably, but I've seen a lot of people make definitely big breakthroughs after experiencing a traumatic event in their life, or a few different traumatic events in their life. And at least from the surface, it looks like they're thriving. So I love to see stuff like that.
No, you said, I think at the very beginning, that Instagram or social media in general is typically the highlight reel. And so that is just the tip of the iceberg. When I came out with this, I was like, what? You crush everything. You're always accomplishing the next biggest and best thing. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Little do you know that I was using that to distract me from all the shit. Like, I went to accomplish the next degree, the next blah, blah, so I didn't have to think about reflecting in and really thinking about who I am and just being happy to just be. My value came with, what can I accomplish next? Who can I impress next? What can I do so I can post it on social media and people will be like, oh yeah, good job. Like, the validation from that, it's a strong driver.
So, and please don't take this the wrong way. And it has nothing to do with like what you just spoke about, like specifically, but see, I've heard talks about, social media being a good thing. Some people say it's a bad thing. And, there's a reason why social media is so popular. But does receiving likes and comments, does that do something for you specifically? Or do you feel like that does something for people, like their emotions or like their egos?
Oh, there's science behind it. It definitely does. When you see the likes go up, when you see the comments go up, there's something in your brain. I don't know the chemical. I'd have to look it up, but something is released in your brain as like, this is good. Dopamine.
Dopamine, I couldn't think of the name either.
Is released, and you like how dopamine makes you feel good, so you want it to happen over and over again. That's the drug, right?
Right.
For me, initially, when I started being more strategic and intentional with my social media, it wasn't for the likes.
Okay.
By this time, I was working at the ad agency, so I'm like experimenting with the stuff that I'm learning at work, doing at work. Not only that, I'm working with my best friend, and we're both two very creative people. And and he's a photographer. I enjoy being in front of the camera, and so we were just like jamming out. I'm gonna try a couple different outfits, see what hits, what doesn't, and figure out my market from there. Literally just trying to figure out who does my content appeal to, how do I engage them, how do I repeat the process so I can do it successfully over and over again. That's how I approached it.
Yeah, we definitely got to talk after this because
testing out different hashtags, times to post, things to post, formats, all of that. It was short of a spreadsheet. It was very much an A/B test. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions too. We can do that for the start, like after some time. But I would love to be able to talk to you again about stuff like that because I'm always down to learn that. I have an idea, but I want to become better as well.
There is a science to it. It's not just a whim. But every influencer, every page, their science is tailored to them. The algorithm is tailored to them. Your market is different. Your behaviors should be different. Your audience's behaviors will be different because you appeal to a certain different group. It's it takes work.
Awesome. Yeah, and I can tell you figured it out because your page is dope.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I love it.
There's some trial and error because like TikTok, Instagram, they change their algorithms, so you have to keep on top of that too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I don't know, I'm not gonna lie, I be putting random stuff on there sometimes, but like I did that in the beginning and I was like, okay, I gotta put specific things to what I'm actually doing, just learning over time,
Yeah, and it's fine to do it in the beginning to the randomness because then you're testing what hits, what doesn't.
Right.
And then once you see something that gets more traction than before, use that format, whatever that is, that template, and do it a couple times and see if it still hits, right?
Right.
And pivot from there. If it's still hitting and people are liking it, add to that. It's a process.
No, I love that. Absolutely. Like I said, I would definitely love to pick your brain on this a little bit more at some point because, I definitely want to learn about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you spoke about how you have this like, you have this path in which I forgot what you called it, but as far as like your art, kind of like helping, helping like veterans and just people in general to kind of cope with, some things that may or may not have helped or happened in their life. Can you kind of talk about what you're doing like right now, as far as, anything that's either helping veterans or, what you're doing for work or what you're doing for like, inspiration as well?
Yeah, sure. So I established a nonprofit. It's called SOAR, stands for Serve Our Artistic Realm. And what we do is provide that space either online or in person. Right now, it's at my art studio where people come and paint. We just hang out. I provide that space. I don't want to say class, but the meetups online, people bring their own, whatever it is they're working on, right? If it's drawing, writing, poem, we've had a variety of different art come in for this hour and a half session we used to do on a weekly basis. But to just hang with your peers, hang with your group and like, hey, I'm writing this story. What do you think about this? And you'll get honest, constructive critique or feedback right then and there. And like they're going to give you their attention and want to see the best for you. So they're going to give you good feedback that you'll need. Not everything you do is going to be 100% all the time. So to hear that and get that, I think is valuable for everyone involved. Right now, what we're doing is wanting to like gain awareness for the power of art, especially in this community. I don't think it's something that a lot of people know about. And so right now we are also working on a documentary. It's the working title right now is called Self-Portrait. It is sharing my story of how I've been using art to cope with all the tribulations in my life, to where I've met, to the point where I met a former Marine, Marsoc Marine. His name is. I need like that. Yeah. I met him at a party.
Go figure, right? I met a Marine at a party. No.
But without giving too much away, like I said, it's not until recently that I've met a solid group of people that want good things for me. I was still hanging out with those people that I was hanging out with. And so I'm at this party, not to party, but to pick up a couple friends.
Right.
And I'm over there talking to them like, hey, you know, what's up? How you doing? Whatever. And I was sharing how I have this idea to help vets with art, and you know, what do you guys think? X, Y, and Z. And so this guy that's sitting in the corner, unusually quiet, especially at a party like that when everyone's like trashed. You know, everyone's trashed, having a good time. And he comes over and he was like, so when were you in Afghanistan? And I was like, to be honest, when I'm hanging out at these type of places, there aren't many vets, right? A certain type of person that goes there. They go there for a reason, whatever. And I'm like, only other vets would probably ask that question. So I'm like, when were you in Afghanistan? You know? And he was like, I was in Iraq, 04, 05 or something like that, 06. And then long story short, I learned that he shares his like drawings with me. He's like, this is how I've been trying to deal with my time in Iraq. And he pulls out his phone, album of drawings, and they're really dark, really emotional, tormented, like just the guilt from doing what he had to do out there, like not knowing how to deal with that and turning to drawing to process that. And I learned there that he also has stage 3 kidney disease. And so when I think the line was like, or what I had said was like, yeah, you know, you should totally do graphic novels. Your shit is like fucking spot on for that. And he's like, well, I want to learn how to paint. I don't know how, but I only have like a year or so left. And I was like, what? And so the guy that owned the apartment, John, he was like, oh yeah, Corey has stage 3 kidney disease and he doesn't have that much time left. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck that it's 2 a.m. Let's go to my studio right now. We'll start painting, whatever you need. Don't bring anything. I got all the supplies. And he's like, no, I have a procedure and the next couple of days I gotta get rest and blood work and all that jazz. And I'm like, okay, I will check on you. And I'm not just saying this because, it's nice to hear. I will check on you. Which, looking back now, like that's not something I typically do. It's right. Like for a stranger, let alone someone I know is in a very serious medical condition. Like that's it's a lot to ask of even family members, let alone, a stranger to check on you. But the morning of his procedure, I was like, hey, good luck. I hope it goes well.
Right.
And, he's like, oh, I guess, I don't know what he thought, but maybe he was like, oh, well, she wasn't just talking shit. She was actually genuinely.
I'm pulling up.
You need a ride? Like,
yeah. What you want? You hungry?
Yeah. And that friendship really was the catalyst of opening my doors up to help other people do that. To come to the studio, draw, and I think the phrase is like, what the energy that you put out is what you're gonna get in return, And after meeting him and all that, like the next few weeks, I would say it just snowballed. Not only meeting other veterans that have been looking for a place to do art, but meeting other people that could help me make this place a reality, help me make this documentary a reality, working with executive level people who are listening to my idea and okay, well, we need to set you up with this foundation needs to hear about your thing. We want you to come here. They are projecting this initiative so fast. I can't even keep up with it myself. And it's so overwhelmingly nice to feel that this thing that's bigger than me, that's bigger than Corey and everyone that's making this a reality, sees the power in it and wants it to be a thing now, and that's why I feel like failing OCS and going through the shit was a lesson that I am eternally grateful for, because that is why I'm here now. It has led me to this point right now that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
That whole segment was absolutely incredible. Like, to just, like you said, being vulnerable enough to tell your story. I mean, like, me and you haven't even physically met before.
Yeah.
And I think when's the first time we even made contact? Like 4 days ago or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, honestly, and you talked about your story about why you do, your why that keeps you driving. And I feel like that's my why is what keeps me going. The fact that I feel like I'm privileged to be able to, get people's stories on here, and essentially like one of my whys is I feel like I'm documenting history.
Mm-hmm.
At some, like, one day someone is going to search everybody that I've ever interviewed. Mm-hmm. Whether it's just one time, 10 times, 20 times. And they're going to refer back to an interview that I did. Whether they make it famous, whether something, God forbid, tragically happens or something, they're going to come back and, I feel like everybody deserves to have their story told, or like a story about them told. And it's a privilege to, be able to reach out to you and to be able to get all this put into, this form and have it live on forever,
Fate is a thing. Like meeting that Marine, Corey, at that party, what are the fucking odds? Probably slim to none.
Right.
Meeting you now within the last 4 days, like
yeah.
you said, I honestly haven't found a way to tell my own platform, my own followers, that I'm doing this. Because I didn't want to say it until I knew I could make it happen.
Right.
But now the documentary is literally being shot the first week of October. We're hosting events like within other organizations. Like, it's more tangible now, and I feel comfortable saying it out loud that it's a thing. I want to give my followers somewhere, I think it might be an IG page for the production studio that I put together to make this documentary, so they can follow along of the progress of this story that's going to be coming out soon. But yeah, so thank you for helping me share my story and what we're working on here to help other veterans within our community.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, and I truly do feel privileged to, because I mean, not to say I would have never met you or some of the people that I interviewed, but it kind of gives it a reason to happen,
mm-hmm.
And to meet on those type of terms, to where I feel like, one hand washes the other. It seems like there's many of us, but there ain't many of us that are there to like literally help other people.
I totally agree. And I think you can't rush or force anyone to do that. Like, it took a long, windy road for me to figure this out.
Right.
Like, going through my own shit, and then landing here. The medicine, the spiritual ceremonies had a lot to do with that. Being mentally ready to listen to the signs, or being woke, or whatever people say these days. But yeah, I will definitely share that with you. The plan right now is to shoot the trailer. I don't want to say the entire documentary, because we're trying to find financing for the entire thing, but shoot the trailer. And we're trying to figure out, should we shop it around to get funding, or do crowdfunding, or, I don't know yet, but I know we're taking the first step, and that's as much as we can do. That's all we can do, is try it and see what happens.
Is there anything that you want to like, kind of like long last, anything that you want to kind of leave with like the viewers, or, if you want to emphasize a few points, or, and then you can also like, throw out your social media as well.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. I would say that don't rush your journey. Don't try to figure it out now. Make mistakes. Make mistakes. I think the biggest lessons I've learned have come from them. I've learned about what I don't want. Don't be afraid to try something that pushes you out of your comfort zone. I feel like with this initiative, I'll be experiencing that firsthand with a bunch of people, because most of them would not turn to art as a form of expressing themselves. Either they're too intimidated. I'm not an artist. I'm not a painter or whatever, but being open enough to give it a shot. And I feel like you can apply that to anything. But yeah, as far as social media handles, my own personal ones are at the1sam1, and that's THE1Sam_Juan. If you want to follow the journey for the documentary creation, or at least for the trailer, this is officially the first time I'm putting this out there. And Red Wolf Studios is my company that I established to put this up. It is Red Wolf, all one word, _studios on Instagram. So at Red Wolf _studios. I'll give you all of that stuff. What else? Soar, serve our artistic realm. That's what everything is going to be going to. All the proceeds from the documentary will be used to finance and fund the space for the nonprofit.
So does that have an IG page as well?
Right now, yes. Let me make sure I tell you the right thing, because there are a few that have very close to similar handles, I believe. And again, you guys will be the first. Okay, we_soar_. We soar.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Who would have known that this planned maybe an hour type thing would be an hour and 42 minutes? And that's not including like the 20 minutes we talked before getting
Yeah,
on
I am
this.
feeling for your editor right now, because damn.
Hey, he gonna get that work, but you know, I'd be hooking him up.
That's good.
Nah, I appreciate you. And like I said, don't hesitate to reach out anytime you need anything. You know, I'm only a text message away.
I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good rest of the day.
All right, you too.
Bye.